morning.
Good morning.
All right, today I'm going to be presenting Parkinson's disease. I love you. Okay, so before we go into Parkinson's disease, we need to understand cell communication. And there are long distance signaling and local distance signaling. And for long distance signaling, a specialized cell produces signals and releases them into the bloodstream to reach different parts of the body. And for local distance signaling, the signal moves by diffusion through the extracellular matrix. And there's 3 stages of transductional pathways. Reception, where a cell detects a signaling molecule from outside the cell. Transduction, when the signaling molecule binds to the receptor, it changes the protein in some way. And response, the signal triggers a specific cellular response. And in Parkinson's disease, the issue is during reception.
I love you.
I love you.
That's her. There.
Okay, so what is Parkinson's disease? Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurodegenerative disease where dopamine-producing neurons slowly die or are damaged in the brain. I love you. I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
You can click over here on this bottom left, Dan, and it'll pop up a little arrow and just go that way. Your hands may be cold.
Oh, shoot.
There you go. There you go. Good job.
Okay, so the dopamine travels on a pathway called the nigrostriatal pathway, and it's called that because it travels from the substantia nigra, which is this right here, and to the striatum, which is part of the putnam and the caudate. And so the dopamine producing neurons are in the substantia nigra, and then they go to the striatum and they're received by D1 and D2 receptors that are in the striatum. And D1 receptors are the direct pathway, which cause you to move more, and the indirect pathway is what stops unnecessary movements that you don't want to have. And so, let's try to show this.
You may have to hit that little button.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So the substantia nigra and the striatum are part of the control movement, and that's a part of the basal ganglia. So there's the thalamus, and it's right here. And if the thalamus could really have its way, it would just constantly be moving. You would be always moving. And the striatum, it helps control how much this is going to be making your body move. So without the dopamine that the substantia nigra sends, the striatum is unable to help control the thalamus, which causes you to be constantly moving in the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Okay. What causes Parkinson's disease? Well, it's kind of a mystery. They don't really know, but they believe that 85% of cases are idiopathic, which means that they're not sure. They don't have any clue what really causes your dopamine-producing neurons to die. And then 15% are caused by genetics. Well, it's actually like they found the mutations. So people that have Parkinson's disease, they find these mutations in them. Okay, so these are some chromosomes. So on chromosome 1, there is a gene called PARC7, and PARC7 creates a protein called DJ1, and DJ1 protects cells, guides proteins, and gets rid of damaged proteins. And this mutation is autosomal recessive, which means you have to get it from both of your parents. And then on chromosome 6, there is a gene called PARC2, and that gene creates a protein called parkin. Parkin tags damaged proteins with ubiquitin. The damaged proteins are then sent to the proteasomes, and they work as like waste management, so they will get rid of them for you. And this is also an autosomal recessive mutation. And on chromosome 12, there is a gene called LRRK, and this gene creates a protein called dardrenin, and dardrenin turns your cells on and off and sends signals around the brain. And this is an autosomal dominant mutation, which means you can get it from one parent. Symptoms include tremors, stiffness, slowed down movement, problems with balance, muscle cramps, depression, memory loss, trouble with concentration, low blood pressure, anxiety, hallucinations, and bowel and bladder problems. All right, and treatments include levodopa, MAO-B inhibitors, and deep brain stimulation. So levodopa, it pretty much puts dopamine in your brain, so your body can actually move correctly. And I think I have a picture of it doing it. So here's the levodopa right here, and it's putting dopamine in your brain. So there's a lot more dopamine here, and you can see there's not as much dopamine right there. Alright, so MAO-B inhibitors, they take dopamine from different parts of your brain that you're not necessarily using, and so that they could make better use of them that you already have. So they just gather them from the other parts of the brain so your dopamine can help your body work faster. And then there's a picture of getting dopamine from somewhere else, and it's dopamine receptors. And then there's deep brain stimulation, and this one is a surgical option, and it's a little bit more expensive, and it's not recommended if you don't live very close to a hospital because there's a lot of visits, unless you're going to travel a lot. And so the doctors implant a device called a neurostimulator in your brain, and the neurostimulator is controlled by a device that is usually implanted in your chest, right here, and the neurostimulator is sent electric currents to interrupt the corrupt signals that are sent in Parkinson's disease. And so here's a picture of it. So it's like in your chest, and it goes in there, and it goes down into your brain. And I think that's it. And these are my sources.